This is the Financially Simple Podcast, a show dedicated to destroying the complexities of money for today's small business owner. And now, here's your host, pizza-loving, certified financial planner, Justin Goodbread.
Welcome to Financially Simple. I'm your host, Justin Goodbread, and today we continue our deep dive into the topic of marketing. Now remember, we're examining marketing, but with an emphasis on marketing for value growth. We're in a series on growing the value of our business, and I've titled today's episode, The Marketing Plan. As I mentioned in last episode, one of the most underutilized methods for growing the business, and specifically the value of the business, is marketing. However, we can just run out and start slinging some money at the problem. So many times I see this. Business owners think they have a problem. We know we have a problem. So what do? We run outside the door. We hire the first, quote, firm that we can, and we think they're going to solve the problem. And many times it just doesn't. Just doesn't work. We can't sling money at the marketing problem. I'll give you an example. I have a dentist who's a client of mine, and I'm working with a lot of dentists and optometrists and veterinarians and chiropractors, and work with a lot of entrepreneur doctors. I would say they consist about half of my practice. The other half, I'm going to call them country folk. They have service industries, typically like with rock quarries, or they're dealing with some type of installation or contracting, water pipes and pools and auto maintenance companies, just various types of service industries. I was working with a dentist now for some time, and this dentist is not located in the Tennessee region. It's a different market than where I'm at in East Tennessee. And I've noticed that working with a specific dentist for the years, that their numbers on their reporting, their profit and loss statement in this case, it just didn't look right. And I'd ask questions and ask questions and ask questions. Finally, I found after about a month or two of examining in detail, I asked the question, I said, hey, what are you doing in this advertising budget? Let's look at this advertising. And that's usually what it's categorized as on an expense sheet or a profit and loss statement. They said, well, we kind of just use Facebook here, and we just kind of do this. And, well, you know, I'm noticing the numbers here. You're spending okay amount of money, but are you seeing the results? And the phone got quiet. Like on a quiet summer night when you hear crickets or frogs out in the background. That's what I heard. Now, if I contrary that to other dentists that I work with, maybe not the exact same market, but they're spending X number of dollars, and then we have written out marketing plans, et cetera, and we can see the growth trends of the business long term. Finally, as I was dealing with this young dentist, they said, Justin, marketing doesn't work. Point blank. Like, whoa, that's interesting to me. And you've heard my take on that if you listen to the show at any length of time. I said, so marketing doesn't work. Yeah, marketing doesn't work. I said, okay. Could it be that marketing doesn't work, or could it be that you've not utilized marketing as it should have been used? The question finally got quiet. So I said, let me look at your marketing plan. We don't have one. So we spent some time and we developed a marketing plan. Now fast forward 2 years. They're having the best year of their life. And now part of it can be due to economic circumstances, but the majority of it is direct result of the marketing plan. You see, in business, planning and then testing the plan is key for long-term success. You've got to plan. You've got to plan in every area. You've got to plan on when you're going to hire people, when you're going to fire people. You've got to plan on when you're going to increase sales, when you're not going to increase sales, when you're going to market, when you're not going to market, when you're going to give raises, when you're not going to give raises, when you're going to transition your business, when you're going to add a new product line. There's constant planning that's done. And many times as business owners, we do it subconsciously, truth be told. We don't think about it in that much detail. But marketing is one that I'm going to have you stop. You've got to slow down. And this is one we're going to put in writing. See, when you are growing the value of your company, marketing via a plan will add even more value than you might consider. So I want to look at the basics of a marketing plan. Let's look at them. There's only 3 basics, guys. It's not that hard. The first thing is what are the goals? So in this young dentist, we identified that the goal was, let's increase the profitability per patient by $100. That's it. Let's see if we can get the profitability per patient up by $100. So that means in order to quantify that goal, we had to know what the profitability per patient was. We had to calculate that out. The dentist had never seen this. This is part of a marketing plan. We had to have a goal. So we set out that we want to increase the profitability by the patient for $100. Now you say, Justin, I don't have patients. Okay. Let's increase the profitability per hour by X. Let's bring in X number of new clients at this rate. Whatever the goal is, you want to make sure it's cohesive with your long-term vision and values. But in this particular case, it was, we want to increase profitability per patient by $100. You're like, Justin, that doesn't sound like a lot. Why am I going to go through this trouble? Well, you'll see. The second thing in a marketing plan is you're going to identify the challenge. Why can we not increase patients by $100 per patient? Well, it ended up being that the current patients are not interested in the high-end products. This particular dentist had the capabilities of doing some pretty amazing high-level technical things that a lot of the young dentists today can do, but their current patient base was not interested in that higher level of products. So that leads us to the third thing in a marketing plan, and that is, what is the target audience? When I asked this young dentist, I said, who exactly do you want to work with? And the answer makes me cringe. Anytime I hear anybody who can breathe, anybody who can fog a mirror, anybody, somebody, whoever it is, it doesn't really help us target who we're trying to work for. But those are the three things nonetheless that a marketing plan is going to address. It's going to address what are the goals, what are your challenges, and who is specifically your target market. So in my company, Frazzled Frank is who we have, and I've probably talked about Frazzled Frank because I'm not as scared to tell you who Frazzled Frank is. So Frazzled Frank is a business owner. That's who my target market is. I talk to business owners. The business owner is one who's saying, I have a successful business. I've never run an X size business before. I'm scared. I need help. How do I grow it? How do I build a net worth in this business? And how do I position my business so that at some point in the future, I can sell it for a profit, or I can make this illiquid asset extremely liquid? I don't want to work till I'm dead. I want to enjoy life at some point. I don't want the business to run me. I want to run the business. Those are all the pain points that I hear from Frazzled Frank. And Frazzled Frank is typically not a rookie. They're not someone who's new on the scene. They've been sold ice. They know what it's like to receive something that is a waste of time and energy. They also see the value in listening to wisdom, listening to counsel, listening to people who've been down the road before. That's my Frazzled Frank. Frazzled Frank is typically between the ages of 40 and 60. Now, I have some that are on the periphery of that, but that's typically the age of Frazzled Frank. Like I said, they've got about a 10-year to 15-year window before they want to get out. They love to hunt and fish. That's their hobbies. They like to go hunting and fishing. They like to get outdoors, camping. They're just old country folk. Most of them are located in the southeastern United States, albeit I have many Frazzled Franks in the Midwest now. Don't have too many in New England area. Maybe I don't speak New Englander enough. But Frazzled Frank, nonetheless, is a very educated person, but not in the sense that you're like, well, they have a doctorate or PhD. Yeah, we do have several doctorate-level Frazzled Franks. Like I said, we have some entrepreneur doctors, but we also have some Frazzled Franks that barely get out of high school, but they're some of the sharpest people you've ever met in your life. They're well-read. They value knowledge, and they value knowledge applied. Frazzled Frank typically has clear goals. They have very clear goals on what they want to accomplish. They're driven. They're typically a strong personality being their business owner. They're frustrated. I could tell you all their pain points. Frazzled Frank's frustrated with employees. It's every business owner's frustration. We have to have them when we love them, when we do anything for them. As I told somebody the other day, I pay a lot of car payments. I do. And I love employees. I know that we need them, and we want to treat them with every bit of respect and every bit of kindness we can. We want to treat them above and beyond reproach. But man, employees can be frustrating. Business growth can be frustrating. Knowing when to move and how to move. Knowing that my business is not as valued as much as I want to be. That's Frazzled Frank. Many times, Frazzled Frank don't even know what the business is worth. Frazzled Frank's pain point is they're looking at their business and they're saying, man, I've got this nice business that provides me a nice income, but I'm broke. I don't have any cash in the bank, or I have very little cash in the bank. And I worked a, quote, real job. I would have X number of millions of dollars right now in my retirement account, and I don't. Said I have a business that keeps me up at night. I'm stressed. One wrong move, I could find myself in a lawsuit. That's Frazzled Frank's pain points. And there's many more. So I know who Frazzled Frank is, and that is a persona. That's what we call a persona. Some people now call it an avatar. Same thing works. So I ask you at this point, who is your avatar? Who's your persona? Who is your Frazzled Frank? See, for me, the reason why I like Frazzled Frank, I get them. I get business owners. I work with them day in, day out, male and female. I know how frustrating business is. I know it'll bring you to your knees crying one day, and the next day you'll be shouting from the mountaintop. I have lived it. So I know Frazzled Frank, and I love to help Frazzled Frank. Frazzled Frank, to me, man, just to be able to see a wink of hope, to be able to see that they can create a business that empowers and benefits the community that they're in, the employees that they serve, the customers who they have the opportunity of adding value toward. And at the end of the day, they can also benefit themselves. See, I like Frazzled Frank. I get it. My question to you is, who's your Frazzled Frank?
You are listening to Financially Simple, destroying the complexities of money for today's small business owner.
So once you know your target market, then it becomes a process. And it's a process to figure out how are you going to move your product or service in front of Frazzled Frank. We have one of our clients, their persona is Sexy Sally. That's their persona. They're looking for soccer moms who have fake parts that are very interested in the way they look. That's Sexy Sally. So whoever yours is. But now we're down to the process. And so the process is going to examine 5 major components. And this is where the planning comes into play. We're going to deal with the area of competition. Who is my competition? Who is your competition? How close are they? Are they geographically close? Are they close via the interweb, the internet? My dad always called it the interweb. Are they close via the internet? Why are they your competition? What are they offering that you don't offer? How are they marketing that you don't market? How exactly are they marketing? Are they marketing at all? Then we're going to look at messaging. So after we know the competition, we're going to look at the messaging. What resonates? What are their pain points? What are those areas that they need help in? Where is there areas that your product or service can fit or bring a value to that particular persona that you're trying to work with? Then you're going to examine the tactics or the channels. How are you going to get your message in front of them? And this is just tactics. Are you going to use social media? Are you going to use print advertising? Are you going to use word of mouth? Are you going to use TV, radio, perhaps blogging, perhaps YouTube? Perhaps you're going to conventions. Perhaps you're public speaking. What tactic or channel are you using to get your message in front of your target market? And then what budget are you willing to apply? You know, for me, budgeting is pretty simple. I always recommend that you use between 10 to 20% of your gross revenues. Now, you may use that net revenues, depending on the type of business that you're in, but you're using nonetheless 10 to 20% if you're trying to grow the value of your company. That's a shocking number to many people. It is. I get it. I understand that's a shocking number. But nonetheless, we have to allocate some money. I actually told one of our clients here recently, we're going to borrow some money to market, knowing that if we do this right, the money we borrow will recoup through our marketing efforts. And sure enough, we did. We borrowed the money, we marketed, we outlined a 6-month time frame, and we were able to recoup with a good marketing plan the money that was used during that time period. And then finally, the 5th thing in a business plan is, what are the metrics we're going to use? How are we going to judge the quality of the results that we see? Are we just going to look at the dollars we spend? Are we going to look at an addition of followers? Like I have one company that we're just trying to track the addition of followers on their YouTube channel. That's it. That's the metrics we're trying to use. My dentist I mentioned earlier, they're trying to increase the net revenue per patient by $100 per patient per annum. That was the metric we're going to use. So the planning process is going to go through those 5 steps. It's going to start with competition. We're going to examine it. We're going to look at the messaging. We're going to look at the tactics of the channels we're going to use, the budget, and ultimately, how do we grade ourselves? So here's an example of a step-by-step plan. A step-by-step plan, after you develop those 5 areas, you're going to come out with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different objectives. And they're going to have different strategies. So here's a strategy number 1. The strategy number 1 is we want to align the brand across all internal and external touch points. That's what we want to do. We want to align the brand. We want everything to appear the same. We want our social media campaigns to all make sense. We want our email newsletter. We want our website. We want our collateral pieces that are in print. We want our business cards. We want the billboards. We want the advertising we do. Everything is going to be aligned. So you may have multiple tactics. You may go through and you start with brand pillaring. You may start with positioning. You may start with your story. Everybody loves a story. In fact, you want to read a good book. Story Brand is a great book, by the way. Great book on this particular topic. So, but you have a brand story. You may talk about your onboarding, your living brand, your website. Everything is going to be aligned nonetheless. But then you're going to deal with the diversity of service offerings. Maybe that's your second strategy. So that's where you're going to go in. You're going to look at search engine marketing, public relations, e-marketing. You're going to look at blogs. You're going to look at network affiliates. You're going to figure out how to diversify your offerings. That would be the second strategy as part of your plan. The other thing, the third strategy may be we're going to increase brand recognition in different marketplaces. So you may go in and you may look at websites or regional conferences or building a prospect list or building industry surveys or reaching out to other industry bloggers within your area, referral relationships. Maybe you go through a brand endorsement campaign. Nonetheless, those are three particular strategies that came out of one of our particular branding campaigns with our clients. So the plan is going to lead to specific strategies that you can implement. And ultimately, the best-in-class plan is going to include the following. It's going to implement and it's going to integrate your sales strategy. Your marketing plan is going to integrate with your sales strategy. We talked about last time that sales and all the different sales processes drive the revenue engine of your business. But marketing has to work along with sales. It has to. And it has to integrate with your sales strategy. That's a best-in-class plan. A best-in-class plan is documented. You're documenting what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, what were the results of it, was it completed, was it adopted, what were the pros, what were the cons. You're going to document it. Friends, that one thing alone will add value to your business. Think about this. We know we have a marketing plan. We develop the marketing plan and we say we're going to roll out these 5 or 6 strategies and these 30, 40 different tactics. And we integrate it with our sales division and the sales increase. But we don't keep track of why they increased. Fast forward 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now. So the potential buyer comes in, they say, what happened in this year, 2018, 2019? What caused your company to increase 20%? Oh, that was our outstanding marketing campaign. What did you do? Well, here's our old marketing plan. Yeah, but what did you do in this marketing plan? I don't remember. How much did you spend per thing? What adjustments did you make during this process? The potential buyer is going to come in and look at all these different items, what the adjustments were, what you actually did, because their marketing team is going to say, man, these worked really good back in that time frame. We might need to increase this or hold this or adjust this. And they have a roadmap that they can see where you've been, and now you can traject where you're going. So when you document, complete and everything that's been adjusted and adopted during this time period, that is a very key issue for best-in-class business marketing planning. Market planning is going to go to tying to your business goals. The client that we talked about earlier, the dentist, they said we wanted to increase $100 per patient net revenue. The reason why that was important is because we had to follow the goals. The goal was to increase the margin on the company of the net revenue. We wanted to increase that from a ratio of 32% to a ratio of 45% within a 1-year time period. That was the ultimate hierarchical goal of that company. And so that one little component of increasing $100 per patient of profitability would help us reach that. It tied the marketing plan tied to the meta narrative of the company. It tied to the major goal of the company. We also frequently reference our business plan, or in this case, our marketing plan. We frequently reference it. We don't just build it one time and throw it on the shelf. That doesn't do anybody any good. We want everybody who's involved in any facet of marketing, from the salespeople to the rank and files to the person meeting the people at the door. We want everybody to be fully understanding about what the marketing plan is. Think about this. Let's say you're in a retail establishment and you're in a service business. Let's say you're in a tanning salon, just because I know there's one across the street. That's just first thing in my head. And you're running a special that month, and the special is so that you can generate net revenue to the company. Maybe it's a different one. Maybe it's so that you can increase your social aware by 1,000 users for this month. And so you roll out a marketing plan. You say, friends, we're going to do this, or employees, we're going to do this in the company. If you don't frequently explain and reference that marketing plan to all team members, then it's not going to trickle down to the potential customers who are walking in the door, or even those long-term customers to say, hey, go out and like us on LinkedIn, bud. See, that's where the marketing plan comes into play. It's got to be frequently referenced, because the fifth thing is it's a living document. One of the things I like to do in my company is I'll build a marketing plan, and then I'll take it and I'll copy it and revise it every year or every quarter, depending on what we're dealing with in the companies, the plural. I want to track it, and I want to just give a snapshot at that particular time in history, because I know that my marketing plan is going to change in the next 6 months. I know it is. It's a living document. What I'm doing today in marketing is not going to be the same thing I'm doing in 6 months from now in marketing. Sure, there's going to be some basic core things there, but nonetheless, it's going to adjust. So just as a recap, Whenever we start in the marketing, we always start with goals in a marketing plan. We identify the challenges and we look at our target audience. If you remember Frazzled Frank, I hope you know him by now as a business owner. More than likely, he is you. More than likely, if you're listening to the show, you're a business owner. You're probably Frazzled Frank. And so my job in my company is to know who my competition is, what messaging that you need to hear in order for you to take action on my product or service, what tactics and channels, like this podcast is a channel, what budget am I spending and what are my metrics, ultimately so that I can create strategies and objectives and tactics, ultimately so I can do that like we talked about in our strategic planning process, so that ultimately the best-in-class marketing plan includes an integration with our sales, complete documentation and adaptation adjustments. It's going to tie to our business goals. We're going to reference it frequently, and it's going to be a living document. And friend, that's a marketing plan. Now, the reason why I didn't get too much specifics is because your marketing plan is going to be a whole lot different than my marketing plan. And my marketing plan is going to be different than all the hundreds of thousands of people out there who will eventually hear this. I think we've got I don't remember how many thousands of people who listen to us every episode, but that's 1,000 different business marketing plans. I get it. But I want to give you some insight to show you that if you focus on the marketing plan, it will add value. It will. It's a direct value driver for your business. Not only are you going to add immediate, more than likely, top-line revenue and bottom-line margin. Those two things will happen. But more important, it's going to build an intrinsic value like we talked about in some of our previous episodes, around episode 30 through 40. It's going to add that intrinsic value, that intangible value, so that when a buyer comes in, they're going to say, oh, we see your marketing plan. We see what's worked. We see what hasn't. We see your quantification here. Yeah, this team has it together. That's a little bit more value. So guys, with that, I'm going to tell you that, as I do every week, check out this podcast in the show notes on financiallysimple.com under the heading podcast. And while you're there, sign up for the newsletter. We have a ton of people who get the newsletter, and I get 3 or 4 emails almost a day now for people who are saying, Justin, I really like this newsletter. Or, hey, Justin, I heard you on the podcast. Or, hey, Justin, I saw you on YouTube. I hit you on Twitter and you didn't reply back. Sorry, I was in Idaho for a couple of weeks. I had a couple people who yelled at me on Twitter. But reach out to me. If you have a question, I'd love to hear from you. We're getting ready to do an episode not too long from now on the topics that you want to hear. Can't wait to deal with those. Like I say every week, life is hard. It is. And life is good. Life can be frustrating. Money doesn't have to be. Let's continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Hey, y'all go out and create a great day.
You have been listening to the Financially Simple podcast. The information in this show is for informational purposes only. This show is not investment advice. Instead, seek help from a competent financial advisor. Justin Goodbread, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Heritage Investors, a registered investment advisor.